Hello everybody, welcome to Monday Morning Must-Knows. My name is Merlin Rothfield, and I hope that you've recovered from your turkey tryptophan hangover. That's right, all of us eating ourselves into a food coma over the weekend, but I'm ready for a December to remember. I hope that you are as well. Of course, Santa Claus rally may be coming this year. We'll talk about that one in a couple of weeks, but all in all, a pretty good week last week. A lot of volatility, and of course, the S&P finishing at all-time highs. Love it. Now let's dive into our current trading week to see what we have coming up for this week and what might impact our trades. I'm going to start things off with a rather boring earnings announcement. I know, normally we start with earnings and there's some exciting stuff in here. I'll tell you what, before I even put one thing on the screen, I'll tell you, if you are Canadian and you own Canadian bank stocks, this is your week. This is the mother lode for you. I didn't put any of them on here, but if you're from Canada, pretty much every day you've got all your major banks from Canada going to be reporting earnings. But let's start off with the U.S. stuff. On Monday, we don't have much to speak of. You have BHP reporting. On Tuesday, you have Salesforce and Marvell Technologies. On Wednesday, probably the busier day, Hormel, Dollar Tree, Chewy, and Campbell Soup. And finally, Thursday, with Kroger, you've got HPE, Lululemon, and Ulta Beauty. And that, my friends, is it for the week. Now remember, these are just the major names. There's a lot of other little stuff I put in there, but generally I try to go with the bigger US market cap companies for the earnings announcements. Now, this first week of December is actually rather quiet, albeit there are some events happening, particularly on Friday of this week, that are really important. But I want to go through and dive into the man, the myth, the legend, which is going to be Jerome Powell. Now, we have several other FOMC members speaking this week, but given the importance of last week's core PCE inflation numbers, which showed 0.3%, a little higher, I mean, that's about 3.6% annualized, not great. And that might be putting pressure on the Fed to make some rate adjustments. Remember, the December 18th meeting right now, there's about a 66% probability of a 25 basis point cut in rates. But if the data continues to stack up and look more inflationary and maybe perilous for our markets, then the Fed may have to backpedal on that and not lower rates in this next coming meeting in December. So let's go into the event for the week. Jerome Powell will be speaking at the New York Times Deal Book Summit. Now, this is a moderated panel, but remember, this comes out on Wednesday. This is really kind of the first time that he's going to be speaking since that core PCE price index number last week. And then, of course, 2 days after this, we have the unemployment numbers, which is really going to be important for our U.S. markets. So this will happen at 1:45 p.m. Eastern time. So for those of you who are watching those markets, it'll happen near the tail end of the trading day. Now, that leads us to the next piece of information, which is actually a five-piecer of information, and that is the unemployment data. So when we look at the unemployment data, there's a few things to pay attention to here. Number one, we start things off on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time with the JOLTS job openings. Then we shift our focus to Wednesday with the ADP non-farm employment change at 8:15 on Wednesday. That's your probably second most important announcement for the week. Now, that piece of information will have been released before Jerome Powell goes and speaks at that Deal Book Conference for the New York Times on Wednesday afternoon. Then we move our focus to the unemployment claims on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and then a twofer. Friday, probably the most important day of the week, we have the unemployment rate and the non-farm employment change happening Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. These two announcements are pretty significant, particularly the unemployment rate. At this moment, the expectation is we're going to slightly tick up on that unemployment rate, just by 0.1%. So that starts to creep up more and more and more. That trend has been looking higher and higher. Let me show you what that picture might look like just so you understand. I'm not just making this stuff up. Here's our chart of the unemployment rate. And again, Friday at 8:30 a.m. is when this number comes out. You can see that for quite a while, we've actually been on a nice uptrend here with regards to the unemployment rate. Looks bad, right? We're seeing higher and higher unemployment. And then for the last 4 months, it's like, hold on a second. This is looking better. We're actually coming down. This looks fine. And now the expectation is, 4.2% unemployment. Now, granted, on the grand scheme of things, everybody, 4.2% is pretty darn good. That's not a high unemployment rate at all. If you go back to the Ben Bernanke days when they were talking about full employment, that was 5.5%. We're at 4.1 right now, so we're looking pretty darn good. I think we have plenty of room to creep up here, but just know that the unemployment rate is expected to go up just a little bit. And finally, one last little bit here that we don't normally talk about, and that is cryptocurrency and digital assets. Of course, if you'd like to learn more about that program, you can register down in the link below or find out more information about the free cryptocurrency and digital assets program we have. but I host a focus course where we talk every week about the ins and outs of cryptocurrency and digital assets because it is the new frontier of financial markets. That said, Bitcoin has been a very interesting one. We have seen it rally significantly over the past couple months from 50,000 to almost 100,000. Now, for anyone here who trades actively, you know that whole number psychology is a big deal. $100,000 per Bitcoin is a monstrous milestone. Now, the futures markets have pierced through that twice last week, right? We just tiptoed across it. In my opinion, though, Bitcoin has never traded at over $100,000. So keep your eye on this, because what will probably happen is what usually happens with big psychological numbers like this. People going, oh, is Bitcoin going to go to 100,000? There's no question in my mind. It's like a Ouija board. You know, remember the Ouija board? You'd have your hand on it and you're sitting there going, oh, is my grandma Mary in the room? And it magically moves to Y, E, S, and everyone freaks out. It's because psychologically people are moving that with, they're not even paying attention to it, but you are psychologically getting there. So when people say, is Bitcoin going to get to 100,000? It's a no-brainer, 100% in my mind, going to happen. And that, when it's going to happen, I don't know. So keep your eye on it, because what usually happens is it'll hit it, bounce down, hit it, bounce down. That's what it did all last week. Once it breaks, it should have a huge breakout because there's nothing to the left-hand side of that chart. It's uncharted territory. Then you get the big breakout, the retracement, and then the question is, where do we go from there? I believe it's going to go up, but bottom line is you're going to see a lot of volatility in cryptocurrency and digital assets, a lot of political posturing around it as well, which makes it a very exciting topic. And of course, if you'd like to learn more, click the link in the description down below for our free class and maybe join me in our focus sessions. That, my friends, is your Monday Morning Must-Knows. There's tons to talk about for the upcoming trading week. I hope that it puts some green in your pockets and in your portfolio. We'll see you next week.